return what Bill Parcells has to do with an ice cream parlor in Florida and a man who knows Parcells better than most.
You can just tell by the look on his face what kind of mood he's in. Sometimes I think he's a sick man. I told him so once.
Every morning on his way to the Miami Dolphins headquarters, Bill Parcells crossed the 17th Street Bridge in Fort Lauderdale.
I used to sell newspapers on 17th Street and Federal Highway in Fort Lauderdale. One day he came by and I said, wow, that's Bill Parcells. Next day he started buying a newspaper. We started talking.
I think the thing that kind of got us going was he said to me, he says, Coach, he said, you know Andy Reid? And I said, yeah, I do. He says, well, tell him to draft a blanking wide receiver. I said, just like that.
Bill called me and he goes, Andy, I met one of your fans. I said, you did? He says, yeah. You know, when I drive to work every day, the newspaper man, he's a homeless guy, and he sells these newspapers, and he's the biggest Eagles fan in the world, and he's always telling me how great you are and how we stink.
He says to me, he says, I talked to Andy, and he says he's going to send you a hat and a shirt. And I'm thinking, this is bull. I'm thinking, I just met this guy, this is Bill Parcells. Yeah, he's going to go, Andy Reid's really going to send Bill Parcells a hat and a shirt and give it to me. Next day I had a hat and shirt. Unbelievable.
In any case, I finally said to him, I said, John, can't you find another job? He said to me, he says, I can't get a job because I don't have an ID. I said, well, why don't you get an ID? He said, well, I don't have my birth certificate. He said, I can't get it. So I said, well, maybe I can help you out with that.
So he did. Parcells talked to some people who helped John get an ID and a job.
I'm a busboy, 58-year-old busboy.
He's working and making a living. He's got a roof over his head. He's happy. He's sober. He's doing well.
Andy, every time I talk to Andy, he says, how's my homeless guy doing? I told him, I said, he got a job.
I don't know any person that has his kind of influence, power, wealth, and it just takes time to, deal with just a regular dude.
When I had my heart operation, and I can assure you, when you're going to that operating room, you are aware of your mortality. I can assure you. And the man who fixed me was a wonderful heart surgeon who from Philadelphia, who just died recently, named Paul Adonisio. And I can remember laying in my bed when I was getting ready to leave the hospital at Temple University there in Philly, and trying to find the words to thank Paul for what he'd done. And there really wasn't anything I could say. So I just said to him, I said, Dr. Adonisio, I said, I don't know if someone's gratitude means anything to you or not, but if it does, I want you to know that you have mine. And he looked at me right in the eyes and he said, certainly it does. And he impacted me. So certainly if I've affected someone in a positive way, that means a lot to me as well.
His legacy, when I think of it, before I think of football and Super Bowls, the first thing I think of is the lives that he's changed. I think Parcells is a life changer.
You'll be all right. You'll be all right. You know why? You know why? Because I ain't gonna let you fail. I promise you.
I've seen it in various players that have talked about him as a tyrant and the toughest guy they've ever been around, but 10 years later they come back and thank him. And I mean tears.
I'm so glad I had the experience to play for him. I really mean it. There's never a day that goes by where I don't try to put some wisdom on somebody, and I quote him.
I want to give a special thanks to a coach of mine, Bill Parcells. Who helped me grow up as a man and make me reach my full potential as a player.
You're bonded with those players. Especially if you've won with them. And then it's like it's hard. I heard Pat Riley say this. He used the word, it's a blood kinship, and it really is. I mean, I've got them. They're in their 50s and headed for 60 now, and that's the way it is with them. They're still your guys, and you're their guy, and when it comes down to it, that's what it is.
I remember one day, we were in the restroom. He said, I think you get it. I think you get it, and I like you. And he said, but don't ever forget this. And I said, what's that, Coach? He said, you'll always be the hardest person for yourself to see. You know, and at the time, I'm like washing my hands, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm like, and I see him behind me, and it just kind of clicked.
So, do you like the man you see in the glass now?
He's a little less than perfect, but he's doing better. He's doing better.
The preceding